Hi, I'm Garrett.
And I'm Savannah, where we're going to talk about how and why it is important to listen.
What do you think listening is? Not talking when someone else is? Hearing words someone is saying? Being quiet? Well, listening is all of these, but so much more. It is the learned process of receiving, understanding, remembering, evaluating, and responding to verbal and nonverbal messages. Listening has a process that is go with the flow. It isn't a step-by-step process. The first stage of listening is receiving. It is the focus of hearing and only hearing a speaker's message. It is a very simple step, but can be blocked out easily by noises. The second stage of the listening process is called understanding. This is the brain trying to get a grip on what they said and what it means, instead of just hearing sounds come out of a person's mouth. It is not always easy. According to the University of Minnesota, in an adapted version of the book, Stand Up, Speak Out, the differences between backgrounds and cultures of the speaker or listener determine what you may think they are saying versus what they actually are saying. This can be affected by accents, inside jokes, and larger things like childhood experiences and education. Remembering is the third stage of listening. If you cannot remember what a person said, you will find yourself in an embarrassing situation. Remembering goes back to the receiving and understanding stages. If you are distracted or miss a small part of the message, you might not be able to put the whole message together, therefore not remembering it. The evaluation stage of listening is the fourth and is more complex than the previous. It calls for your own opinion and knowledge. You know that little voice in your head when you are trying to understand a joke your friend showed you? That is this stage. It is the brain interpreting someone's message to your own understanding and putting it into your own context, then switching and swapping it around until it makes sense. Sometimes, trying to evaluate the message or joke could take a very long time and might require it to be repeated. But mostly this process happens so quick you can't even realize it. The fifth and final stage of listening is responding. It is just as it sounds. Responding or feedback is a step where the listener shows they are involved in the message. Anything you do or say could be counted as feedback. Maybe you raise an eyebrow, or gasp in hard, or double over laughing. It all counts as responding to the person's message. So, to recap, the listening process goes receiving, understanding, remembering, evaluating, and responding.
Understanding how listening works provides a foundation we need to explore why we listen, including various types and styles of listening. In general, listening helps us achieve all the communication goals that we learned about in Chapter 1 of this textbook. Listening is also important for academic, professional, and personal contexts. The main purposes of listening are to focus on messages sent by the other person, to better our understanding for other people's communication, to critically evaluate other people's messages, to monitor nonverbal signals, to indicate what we are interested or paying attention, to emphasize what others show we can for them, to engage in negotiation, dialogue, or other exchanges that result in shared understanding. Listening serves many purposes and different situations require different types of listening. The type of listening we engage in affects our communication and how others respond for us. For example, when we listen to emphasize with others, our communication will likely be supported and open, which will then lead to the other person to feel heard or supported and hopefully interact positively according to the aspects of receiving information. The main types of listening we will discuss are discriminative, informational, critical, and empathetic. Oh.
No, don't stop it.
No, we have to stop it.
We don't have to stop
Yes,
it.
we do. Do you know how to, like...
You could have just laughed through it.
No,
and then
I could not.
And then say it. I would do that one.
Discriminative listening is
Just pause it.
Discriminative listening is focused and usually instrumental type of listening that is primarily psychological and occurs mostly at the receiving stage of the listening process. Here we engage in listening and scan and monitor our surroundings in order to isolate particular auditory and visual stimuli. For example, we may focus our listening on a dark part of the yard while walking the dog at night to determine if the noise we heard presents us if we are in danger, or we may look for a particular nonverbal cue to let us know our conversational partner received our message. Informational listening entails listening with the goal of comprehending and retaining information. This type of listening is not evaluative, ranging from a student listening to an informative speech to an out-of-towner listening to directions to the nearest gas station. We also use informational listening when we listen to news reports, voicemails, and debriefings at work. Critical listening entails listening with the goal of analyzing or evaluating a message based on information presented verbally and information that can be inferred from a context. A critical listener evaluates a message and accepts it, rejects it, or decides to withhold judgment and seek more information. As constant consumers of messages, we need to be able to assess the credibility of speakers and their messages and identify various persuasive appeals of faulty logic. Empathetic listening is the most challenging form of listening and occurs when we are trying to understand or experience what a speaker is thinking or feeling. Empathetic listening is a distinct form of sympathetic listening. While the word empathy means to feel into or feel with another person, sympathy means to feel for someone. Sympathy is generally more self-oriented or more distant than empathy. As a recap, listening is looking in the person's eyes, listening ears, quiet mouth, and being still. Thank you for watching.